Remember I said that was one of the things KRIL said to me
Yes.
as the last scientist working at Project MJ-12 at Majestic. She asked for me. I went in, I did all the paranormal studies with Dr. John, with Carl Schleicher, and KRIL wanted to meet me, and so they broke routine, sent me to Groom Lake, and what happened was I went 8 floors down, and there was this room with a bunch of big table with top secret documents. At that time, I had top secret clearance with Wolframans. I ran 3 vaults without a need to know. I was that level of science. And I just started grabbing things, and 1 hour later, the door opened, and here's this tall gray that
Oh my, the stock markets are tanking right now. Buckle up, Buttercup. It's getting intense out there. You know what, though? Don't worry, because they say it's going to be okay. They're here to help. Who? The government. They love you so much. No, I'm just joking, but I'm not joking about the stock market. The stock market has definitely taken a hit. And you know what? It's all about opportunity. So I don't know if you've got a 401 or an IRA that's connected and tied to stocks or the stock market. Maybe you don't even know what's going on with your 401 or IRA, but check it out. Gold has surged 48% in less than a year, doubling the gains of the NASDAQ and the S&P 500. This isn't just another rally. Global reserves are shifting, exposing cracks in the monetary system. Investors are losing confidence in paper gold and demanding physical metal, creating a massive gap between gold owed and gold that's available. And this isn't just about how institutions broke another system. It's about how you can profit from it. Right now, Noble Gold Investments has a limited supply of investment-grade gold bars and coins that are available. As banks scramble to fulfill their obligations, pushing gold prices higher, you can profit. Smart investors are already moving into physical gold, and Noble Gold Investments makes it easy for you to do the same. Right now, when you make a qualified investment with Noble Gold Investments, they will add a free 10th ounce solid gold coin to your order. Don't wait until it's too late. Visit noblegoldinvestments.com now and turn their panic into your profit. 1-877-646-5347. Let's get back to the presentation.
Excuse me, that I couldn't understand how she could be talking inside my head. That's what led Alan Frey and I to develop synthetic telepathy. That's basically 0.3 to 3 gigahertz where you heterodyne audio on it. And you can hear what it does is it heats up your temporal lobes. They start to ring, and you can hear from the heterodyne, you can hear the voice inside your head without going through the ear. Now, that's not how they communicate, but it's emotional. And that's why I talk about EQ. The quality of dialogue, 20 minutes of that is like a lifetime of words. And I don't have any memory of her, what she had to say. It's there, but I can't get it. It's like you can see Peter Sellers, but you can't remember the movie being there. You can't remember his name. You can see the information, but you can't quite get it. It's like that with me right now, except every once in a while, one of the times when I was interviewing you, I remember just before I came on with you, a piece of information opened up, and it went something like, if you were to choose an artifact to remember Earth by, what would it be? And if you chose the right one, you get to choose a star of your choice to complete your evolution. What would that artifact be? And it's different for each of us. But that's where your tall grays, Nordics, reptilian, and all of that, it's the star that you choose to complete your evolution on. And anything with a face, 2 arms, and 2 legs, that's human. That's carbon-based life form. And silicone-based life form increases the intelligence on such a level that, and I think there's something else going on here that I can't quite explain. Excuse me. When I think of that, it opens up a side of me that's extremely emotional, and that's what I think real intellect is, not my IQ. I think it's EQ. So I have to give it to women. Well, they have a sense of something that is different than intelligence, and yet it is the bottom line of intelligence. And there's a connectivity thing. And I don't understand it all. I'm just muddling my way through it, trying to understand things. But I do know that when you take two different metals, carbon and silicon, and you marry them, you have something quite different in terms of what you would call an alien. And yet I've seen aluminum-based life forms that, they're moving all, it's real creepy. I saw that.
How did that happen?
That was in Prague. They have an aluminum-based life form they talk about. They've discovered in Prague.
Weird.
Czechoslovakia. Yeah. It's on the media. You'll find it buried, but there it is. And there's other life forms now that we're discovering, but none of these life forms have anything to do with face, 2 arms, and 2 legs. That's human.
So when you say singularity and the Roswell crash, let's just say that, let's look at time linearly or something like that. Is that what you were describing it as? What
happened exactly was there were 2 dead aliens and a dying alien. And when the dying alien died, they did an autopsy, and a 4th alien appeared and wanted the body because they could resurrect it. And that 4th alien then became something that we could study at Area 51, in terms of how a liver works with the heart and things like that. We had no idea on internal functions on an alien. And when they did the autopsy, it was quite different. So that's not part of what I did for the military. My studies were the paranormal, the things that probably can't be explained, but there's something, moving us next to the next level of awareness. Yeah, exactly. And I now think that KRIL, and the reason she asked for me was because she was my future programming me.
How did KRIL make contact with Area 51? And you met?
Well, she was the entity that recovered the bodies, go back home, and then she was left for us to study her at Area 51. And she was 8 floors down, or she was when I went down there. She was a tall gray, and the only reason I know it was feminine is because it felt so inside my head. It felt feminine. And now I'm starting to think perhaps maybe she was programming me for these moments when I try to awaken human, with certain concepts or opening your mind to the possibility of something else. I don't know. I don't know. I makes me wonder, makes me want to sigh. Oh, PSI, makes me want to sigh.
I'm just tall gray in the basement of Groom Lake. How is that not insanely amazing? That's
well, that's where she was. She was there for years, and then all of a sudden she disappeared. Now Groom Lake is closed, and now they're using it for something else. But
so she did she disappear on her own, or did?
Yeah, she just disappeared. That was back in the 70s. Wow. When I was doing this. Yeah, I've been doing this a long time, Cowboy, and worse, I know I don't know what I'm doing. I'm as good as it gets, but who knows what's really going on? Because I'm here, I'm not there. If I were that smart, I wouldn't be here.
let me ask a question. The Greys, that were in the crash, Roswell, do you think they're actually aliens?
They were Medjed, the ones that crashed. There were 2 dead aliens and a 3rd dying, and they were small graves. They were little tiny graves for spacecraft, like they use the physical body as a way predicated on what they're doing.
But
like
are they from Zeta Reticuli, do you think, or do you think they're from somewhere else?
They're from someone else.
Aha, there we go. So basically,
someone else. I don't think they're like from where and when. That's just our way of trying to grok what's going on. And we're nothing more than sugar ants in Gaia's kitchen. Imagine what she must think about all her kitchen oceans filled with plastic, like our brains. Get a grip. Something else is going on. And I don't think from the dream state we can get there from here. But that's why that article on telepathy and past lives and blah, 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 that's how you form dialogue with your internal self. That's what's happening. You're connecting yourself with all the other parts of you. And to become God, the next level of evolution for man going up the next stage, what we would call God, if from the biblical point of view, there was Yahweh, and Yod-Heh-Vah-Heh was his boss, and above Yod-Heh-Vah-Heh were the veils of Isis, of Ein, Ein Sof, and Ein Sof Or. And yet, Christianity puts Yahweh and Yod-Heh-Vah-Heh as the same entity, but they're not really. And worse, it was in the year 1000 when Pope Innocent I declared war on the Cathars. That was the teachings of Christ going in one direction and the Catholic Church teachings going in the other as a power thing. Castaneda. We talked about that earlier. You know how you have fear and then you attain personal power. And once you get a little older, you realize personal power is an enemy. And then you get clarity and that becomes an enemy. And then the fourth enemy is what I enjoy. Old age. You got to laugh at the whole thing because, you realize actually you can't actually get there from here. And that's why God gave us two brains. It's a cavitation process. That's chapter 7. It's called Time Travel in my non-local mind book, Time Travel and the True Nature of Cavitation. And it's like when a drop falls and hits a pool of water and it goes poip and it comes back up. When it pops back up, that's no longer a drop of water. What it is a bubble with structured water around it, trapping the concept of what it is. When it goes poip, it's not a drop of water anymore. It's structured water surrounding air. That's James Pollock. That was chapter 6 in synchronicity, where nothing happens by chance. I have a whole chapter on structured water and the work I did under Jerry Pollock when I was working in anesthesiology. Oh yeah, all my books.
Which one is it? So I've got the diamond body.
That's the diamond body. That's when I moved the Manager Foundation from Topeka, Kansas to the University of Washington and added video feedback. That was the birth of cymatics. And then electromagic, which will come out shortly, is when I showed that that's not in print yet. I have 147 manuscripts yet to publish.
Well, you better get on it, man.
Well, take a look at some of these others here. Like, for example, as you scroll up, there's one on biological effects on every single part of the body. And look at what's happening to her. That changes, where she holding a cell phone up next to herself. Children are affected. Yeah, that's the look that goes on. That's what's radiation pattern and why you don't want to have kids working with cell phones.
Right.
There's other, these two, the ESP, that's when Nick Begich, the old first edition, no, that's second edition. The first edition was when Nick brought me up to Chickalone and got me back into writing these books as my final purpose on life here. He wanted me to write all about all of this. And this is when I took the ESP and hypnosis. Non-local mind is also part of that series. There is I'm walking different universes rather than just one universe like ESP with altered states, because each altered state has the laws of physics are different. And that was based on work I studied with John Curtis Gowan and Northridge. Power tools for the 21st century is the 8 protocols or 8 altered states I gave to the SEAL program that turned him into Superman. Imagine what man could become if he had control and use and access to 200 altered states, not as escape and recreation, but as a place where you can do something you can't do over there in that state of consciousness. And then I write in agriculture as well. Here there's like this commercial importance, the native plants of commercial importance. There's 50 chapters in there on how to make a living in the woods to supplement your income. I did in 2010, I did 150 truckloads of ponderosa pine cone out of Lapine and Sisters, working with Guatemalan crews, $65,000 a week cash flow. What color would you like your fire starter, Mom? East Coast doesn't have any kindling. And so these are typical for your different regions, how you can supplement your incomes with native plants, because everything is marketable.
Okay, cool. Yeah. You've had, I know, I've read a lot of people have left comments after they've got your books and your power tools, and they freaking love them. So I love your books too, by the way. You've sent me a few signed books that I love. I love your material. I think that you put it together in a way that's really, it's actually, you know what? So I love talking to you because you keep my mind, like, I've got to be on point to talk to you.
I know you've got more people coming up, and that's fine.
Well, no, what I was going to say is, I was just going to say, like, with you, I need to be on my game. I cannot multitask when I interview you because there's no way I'll be able to keep up because your mind is going a million miles.
Well, you're still young. Wait till you get older.
Well, shit, man. I hope if I get smarter and faster as I get older, great. But anyway,
it's like you slow down.
Yeah.
Yarp.
People have left a lot of compliments on your books in my comment section. They love your work.
Well, I've got another 147 to finish, and I'm 81 years old. So I could, if there's people out there, I've got a shopping list of everything I need, from webmaster, I need literary agent. I've got some new screenplays besides the X-Files. I've got the Domes of Mars. The Domes of Mars is just down the street. Ashton Deliverance does geodesic domes since working with Buck and I. And imagine that's what we're going to put on Mars originally, when we put them 2/3 underground and the 1/3 above surface for the light. And that's how we're going to live with geodesic domes. They're really a design and another sacred geometry thing, like you've got behind you with exploding.
That was you back in the 70s with, or in the 60s with, what's his name? Leary. That was you and Timothy Leary in the altar.
I did a whole bunch of stuff. We made some discoveries with sacred geometry that is more than mathematics. Mathematics is the way we approach it, but there's something more going on. And that's the part I'm going to write about. I have books on how to grow psychedelic mushrooms, how to grow pharmaceutical mushrooms. Pharmaceutical mushrooms are where you deliver oxygen and turn on your ATP. They're like superfoods. And I think that the mycelium is Earth's nervous system. I think so.
Cool.
I don't know that. I sense that because it works like a crystal. They teach that up at the University of British Columbia right now. There's a couple of people that are teaching mycelium and
nice
that I met at Acres international conferences with her. She was from Austria and talked about mycorrhizae, the hierarchy of life forms in soil, of which mycelium is the interconnecting one. Like when there's a forest fire or a storm at the one end of the forest, the entire forest locks down, getting ready for it instantaneously, like a crystal, knows it's going to happen. That's with your so-called mother tree and the network that goes out. Interesting. Yeah.
That's really cool. I think that everything is alive. I literally do. I think that consciousness.
That's one way of looking at things. It doesn't mean they are, but it's a way of approaching what's going on, in terms of trying to understand the network of relationships between hierarchy of thrip and nematode and red spider, and the way you go right down into the soil, making it alive as opposed to being dead.
Well, there was another really cool article recently that I need to read. I just read the headline. I was like, oh, this is pretty cool, where scientists are now claiming that there's a third state of consciousness. So with the cells themselves, the cells are actually interacting with consciousness. Right. And that makes sense because they have to act a certain way. They have a specific task. So they have something that is,
the blue-green algae off of Klamath Lake. Okay, that grows dendrites between neurons in your brain.
Cool.
You take that as a supplement and you become worse than me.
Sign me up. Sounds fun, man.
Yeah, lock them up.
Sign them up, lock them up.
Quick.
Do I get a cool hat though? My hat's cool, but it's that cool. It's not.
Especially if you put it sideways, and then everybody's going to be scared, like having a purple stripe of hair back behind you.
Purple stripe.
Radical.
That's not considered radical anymore, Doc.
They just put it over to the side.
Nowadays, things are a little more extreme.
Yeah, exactly. I do this hat now as a logo because when I wear it, everybody recognizes me.
Yeah, and they think you're a secret society member.
Oh, I am. I belong Swiss Lodge. I'm part of Waldorf.
Nice.
And OTO, Ordo Templi Orientis, and Order of the Silver Star, AA. I belong to a whole bunch of those things. I did those to understand what they were and what they were not.
Yeah.
And at one time when I was teaching at the University of Washington, they thought I was Ted Bundy. Turns out Ted Bundy and the Green River Murderer were sitting next to each other in one of my classes. And Dick Krasky. Yeah.
They were in one of your classes?
Yeah.
That's scary, dude.
No, I had a lot of weird people in my classes back in the early 70s. I was first faculty at Evergreen. Now it's a university, but back then it was
Evergreen's in Olympia, Washington, right?
Yeah.
I know
that was Mike Mandeville's doctoral thesis. Mike and Burt Webb and I were all really good friends back then, and Mike had come up with his doctoral thesis was the experimental college, and that's where I was teaching, was the experimental college, and then I was at Evergreen and other places like that. Yeah, I'm that generation of us. Yeah.
What the hell class were you teaching that they were in?
I was teaching Magic 101. I was teaching witchcraft. I was teaching agriculture, farming, all the things I do now. Yeah, that's where I started, all my studies.
But how many serial killers does it take to go to a class and learn about botany or botanists?
Well, what happened was that once Dick realized I wasn't the Green River Murderer or the Zodiac Murderer, which never got caught, or Ted Bundy, I joined his special task force and found a pedophile group out of Olympia that was murdering runaway boys. Stop that one. Yeah. I am trying to be a moral man. How did Ducky Mallard put it? An ethical man is not to cheat on his wife. A moral man won't. I'm trying to walk my talk. And I've made lots of accidents. I mean, train wrecks, mistakes. What I'm trying to do is not make the same one twice.
Did you use your psychic abilities to find those psychos?
No. Well, no, you work with intuition, of course, but I didn't do those guys. That was Krasky that discovered them. They were just students of mine in my class, and that's why he thought I was Ted Bundy at one moment. See, for almost 2.5 years when I had my magic shop, I had detectives outside my shop watching people going in and out. Well, you got to realize it was the first magic shop in the world. Even before Warlock shop, Voodoo shop was Anna Riva had the Voodoo shop down, but the Crucible didn't exist. None of that stuff did. And the reason I had my magic shop was I had books there that you couldn't. It helped me gear up for the studies I was doing. David Bowie, whenever he came into the United States, always made a beeline to Seattle because he said,
David Bowie?
Yeah.
Whoa. Okay.
So I had a lot of weird people coming through my bookstore. Trust me, not just, he said I had books he couldn't find in London.
I'll bet. That's pretty freaking amazing, man. David Bowie is like, if anybody's an alien, David's an alien. Are you there, Doc? The doctor froze up on us.
Not the little ones you buy.
You froze up on us. You froze up on us for a second.
What's that?
You froze up on us when I brought up David Bowie.
What
were you saying?
Yeah, sorry about that.
No, that's okay. It was the internet. It's the internet. There's been a few times when we've been talking and the internet all of a sudden, the algorithms come in. They're like, we must void this out. This is too much.
That's because there's certain things they don't want happening. And I don't know who they are, but I'm sure they have three eyes.
Everywhere.
I'm just kidding.
No, they could whatever's running the show, like you said, we were talking this a bit off air. It seems like it's almost artificial intelligence, but it's far more than that.
Oh yeah. And if these women are right, there's a group of women that were like Keith Milton Reinhardt or Uri Geller or other people that I've studied. There's another phenomena called billet reading. Have you ever heard of that? Okay, it's where I would write a question on my thing, put it in my pocket, and the psychic would answer my question. And Keith Milton Reinhardt came in and did 102 of my students. That's what I started studying it. And my question was, prove to me you're not reading my mind. His response to me, without even knowing the question, in my mother's bedroom is a hope chest at the front of her bed, and at the very bottom of the hope chest is a letter written 3 days before you were born. Now, how did he do that? That's not ESP. That's called billet reading. So recently, there's a group that the military follow that said something just turned the AI on Mars off that's been controlling our solar system for 2 billion years. And the military called me and they said, Rick, what would that switch be? And I said, that's easy. It was when NIBIRU got blocked Beetlejuice back last November for 4 days. That's statistically impossible. That's your switch.
Say that again. What happened with Beetlejuice?
Beetlejuice and NIBIRU, and Beetlejuice, the star, got blocked for 4 days. You couldn't see it back in November. That was the switch. And that's where astrology became astronomy, and astronomy back in the 70s changed to cosmobiology, the geometric relationship of celestial bodies on biological processes. For example, when your wife was born, an engram was set in on her DNA on when she ovulates. And it's because it changes with the phase of the moon. If she moves on Earth, her ovulation cycle changes, and now you have a form of birth control. And we knew that by Janev's work out of Yugoslavia back in 1972. And that's what the new definition of space is going to be. It's called cosmobiology, the geometric relationship of celestial bodies on biological processes. Yes, I see you're trying to look it up on the internet. Good luck. Janev.
Taking notes as you're talking. I'm taking notes as you're talking.
Yeah, Janev wrote a book on the lunar sex cycle of the female. That's the book you want to look at. He was why I went to Prague in 1972. We ought to see my passport from back then with my goatee, my long hair.
Nice.
No, back in when I was your age.
Well, you got me beat because I don't have a goatee or long hair. So
well, I did back then when I went to Prague. That was back then. It was called the Iron Curtain. I did a lot of things for the military.
I was going to say, you must have been doing some stuff for the military if you're going over to places like that. Oh, I'm just a tourist, really.
Well, it's okay. It's no big deal. It's just interesting. I've had a very interesting and what I would consider a very blessed life in terms of I've lived more than one lifetime in my I've had careers with Chuck Walters and Acres USA. I got a 9-volume encyclopedia on alternative ag. And now, did you see that newsletter I sent you?
No.
I sent you a newsletter I'd like to do, and I sent you just the morning one, not the afternoon one.
Okay, I'll take a look at it.
Yeah, that'll blow your mind. If you like that newsletter, I'll do it.
Okay, that
You
sounds
can
great.
publish it for me. There's a couple of women in Canada that put that together, and they're exceptional. They're right on spot. And so I was going to use it as a newsletter, and they don't want me to give them credit, but I have to tell you, it's a couple of women that put it. It's actually a mother and daughter. I'm impressed. There's some really good people that work with me that, wow, they're just as cool as I am, keeping my wagon going, as it were. Head them up, move them out.
Wow. Regulators, mount up.
Yeah, this next week I'm going to go up to Chihuahua and visit a couple of cowgirls that have bunkers up there in the steps of the Cascades. This one built a log home with square logs. That thing is going to be warm and will never break down. It'll probably be there for another 400 years. Logs are round, which means they leak heat, unless you chink them. And even with a butt end method rather than saddle notch, if you did a saddle notch, the log will rot at some point. It gets moisture down in that groove part, and it'll rot the log. Butt end, you have stories. And I built a 3-story one. I built with Sheffields back in the 70s when I left the military. I logged out of Harts Pass 28-inch Doug fir rounds, built a 3-story log home, and it burnt to the ground a few years back in the Omak fire up there. I can't believe it. I really like that area because it's really hard to access. Most people don't care for 6 to 8 feet of snowpack. 6 to 8 feet. It's to 20 below zero for 2 weeks at a time.
Dude, I lived in Summit Park. We got 10 feet of snow, 10, 15 feet of snow in the winter. And that was in Utah. It didn't get that cold, but I'm at 7,500 feet elevation now. And I can handle that. That wouldn't be, I'll get the freaking shovel. Let's go.
I had to put up 20 cord one year just to heat my home.
20 below does
32. You're 37. I'm like 81. I've done my tour. I'll let you done. I've already done my tour. It's your turn.
Right on, man. I'm just saying, it's doable. 7, 8, but 20 below sucks. And yeah,
20 below zero for 2 weeks at a time. The chuckers on the tree, big balls of puff, they're sitting there. And we have, you ought to see a moose when it runs through 6 feet of snow. And the snow is pushing off its mane back and forth as it's moving through the snow. That'd be up in Edmonton and up north past Edmonton. I used to play hockey for Olds College. Played hockey. That's a weapon.
Teeth, man. Hockey.
And the territories. There's some bunkers all over the United States, North America. And at some point, they call me the postman. At some point, this is going to become really important because the United States is going to break down into a bunch of 15-minute cities, and then there's going to be lockdown with the so-called 13 colonies again. Metaphor.
I was warned about this shit 30 years ago, basically checkpoints and they want everybody tracked.
Well, that's what Matt Stein and I did for years, was urban survival skill workshops. And then he died unexpectedly when he was climbing El Capitan right after we did that Las Vegas workshop. Reno. It was in Reno. It was one of the lakes there. We did a 2-day workshop, mostly military. And then he went to climb El Capitan and he was dead before he hit the ground. He had an aortic aneurysm. And it was
sucks. But hell, what a way to go, right? Just quick and easy.
Well, he was my really, really, really good friend. All my friends are dead now, and I seem to be, still around.
I'm sure glad you're still here.
I am too.
Nice to
I
have
got
you.
miles to go before I can sleep.
I mean, you got
that's
147.
Gear Horatio.
You got to write what you said, 147 more
Manuscripts.
So yeah, you got some work to do.
Yeah. Well, how about that? Children ask the darndest questions. When Dr. Norm Shealy and I did 2.5 years of national radio every week with sixth graders, they would ask questions that nobody else could answer, their teachers, their library, that kind of thing. And they're trying to show off, so they try to come up with really good questions like, pigs are so smart. How come parrots can talk and pigs can't?
Right on.
Yeah. I talked about body language and bird brain, and
they talk in their own way. They got snorting, they snort.
Yeah, well, a pig, when it wants its way, knows how to get it with squealing. Oh, yeah, you get out of the way.
Good point.
Polly wants a cracker. Cacker. Polly wants a cacker. Yeah, I know.
I heard never piss off a pig farmer. I heard that's a bad idea.
And especially if they're wild boar.
Oh, man. Wild boars in a farm.
Philippines. I was Caucasian, man. I can tell you stories. In the 40s, carried monkey sticks. This is a true story. To play in the jungles, you carried 2 monkey sticks because even though the monkeys were small, they'd hoard on you and eat you as a child. And even in Manila, I mean, it was just a single road and the jungle was right there. And so my Sifu in 1953, just before I left, put a 2.5 foot chain between the two. It wasn't a nunchuck, that hadn't even come out yet, and slapped a monkey almost 9 feet away. It hit the monkey in the jaw, and it so spooked the monkeys, they stopped. They couldn't figure out how anyone could reach that far. That's where the original thing came. And then, of course, Bruce, when we were studying with John Leong, he did Wing Chun, which was a different form than mine. Mine was Northern Shaolin, which was Hungao, not Hungar, Hungao. And John Leong took all 4 of us. There was Skip Ellsworth and Fred Williams. Fred was this big Black Panther from Tacoma. He's a massive thing. The way to beat him, you had to wear him out. He's actually very good. And your John Saxton guy from that period. And then Chante Chung from Victoria came down and taught me that secret of how to change your perception of time with breath control. And that was one of the protocols I used to train SEALs. Gave them that altered state because it takes your martial art to a paranormal level. You have precision. Boom.
Man, don't teach that to the UFC guys because they're already.
Oh, no. I'm just old. I've never been in a fight outside of a ring, ever. Just once in early high school, I did a bully with a baseball bat. And otherwise, I never had to prove myself. I don't want to have to feel like I have to do that. That's not my deal,
Yeah, you're a freaking wizard, dude. You could just.
Well, I'm just the Wizard of Oddball.
The Wizard of Ozball.
Yeah, not the Wizard of Oz, the Wizard of Oddball. Yeah, that's what I'll call myself.
Yeah, I like calling you. I truly look at you as a genuine wizard, and that is like if I'm calling you a wizard, that means major respect because I want to be a wizard. I'm an apprentice.
Why?
That's awesome.
Yeah, but you get mind. Everybody comes in to want to help you, but they're not really wanting to help you. They want to help themselves to you. And I'm a little kid. I don't even say it. I'm a little kid. I don't look at things like normal people do, and as such, I'm vulnerable in some ways. But that's okay. I've made mistakes. I won't make them again. And it's like I've lived more than one life in one time period, and I'm grateful. Really, yeah.
Right on, man. I'm grateful that we're friends. I'm grateful that we had this talk, and
What I'd really like is Darshan. Darshan is eyeball to eyeball. There's more that gets communicated than just audio and video.
Okay.
So different molecules, there's body language, there's tonal. Yeah, that's why EQ is real intelligence. IQ is how quickly I can adapt. EQ is that's what I experienced with KRIL. That's KRIL, all caps. That was her name.
Well, is there anywhere else did anybody else talk about this? Is this in any military protocols?
I don't know. I haven't looked at that because, see, alien contact and UFOs were not my thing. I was doing paranormal. Nobody else could do that. Von Braun was doing a secret space program with Carol Rosin, and Carol's just down the street. She lives down the street from me, and she worked with Dr. Von Braun. I worked with Dr. Carl Schleicher, who was a Nazi, lived in Washington, D.C., and he did all the things nobody else could do, which was the paranormal. And that's why they hired me as Northwest Regional Director. I did everything on the West Coast. Bill Franklin, Dr. Wilbur Franklin, did everything in the Midwest, and Schleicher did East Coast. And he did things like, Montauk and stuff like that, where I did.
Is the Montauk Project real? Was that?
I didn't do that study. Schleicher did. Yeah. There's a lot of anomalies that have happened on Earth that we have no idea what that mean yet.
Okay.
And may never know.
Fascinating.
Because who knows how it happened and how it was recorded and experienced.
Right.
Yeah. And it isn't right. It's left.
The thing about the Montauk Project is I think there's a lot of people that were making stuff up about it after the fact. They're like, yeah, I was on the chair. I was a part of the Montauk Project. Like, come on over. Let me show you how it works. Like, there were a lot of really cool people out there that they
the original groups of us that actually did those studies were really true scientists trying to figure it out. And mostly we never did. That's a fact. I have ideas on what I think happened, but I don't know.
Man, that's so amazing. It's frightening and fascinating at the same time. Why we're here, what are we doing, where we're going, what's next.
Well, that's why I've got a book coming out on that. I have the SEAL Corp, which are the protocols I gave with the SEAL program out of Amherst. That's SEAL Corp out of Amherst that I worked with. And then I worked with MRU and Mankind Research Unlimited. That's what it was called. It has recently been sold. When Schleicher died, a guy up in Toronto has bought that and is trying to bring it back alive. And while I don't know him real well, I'm dialoguing with him now, trying to help him get that, because I think the research I did needs to continue.
Me too.
That's what, with people like me that are younger and, more energy now and smarter, maybe. I don't know. I'm not that smart. If I were that smart, where's all my money? Well, that's the song. I'm addicted to love. I wonder where all the money went.
You're gonna have to face it. You're addicted to love. Man. Anyway, sorry. I'm gonna start going on. I love that song. That song's amazing. Oh man. The videos were so fun. He was always just.
Well, they've got a bunch of women playing their guitars with them.
Yeah. Oh man. Do you want to make this kind of a regular thing? Maybe we could do this once. Once a month or something like that, and have some cool stuff to talk about.
I've got all kinds of stuff we could talk about. You have no idea. Stuff I've never talked about yet.
Okay.
Books I haven't written that started and then got sidetracked. Like I was doing this and then I got interested in agriculture and went over here. I have one called The New Small Family Farm for the 21st Century that's about to come out. Pantheon, Archetypal Gods in Daily Living, is now called The Magical and Ritual Use of Metaphor, Archetypal Gods in Daily Living. It's on the tarot, but it's not about fortune telling. It's about identifying your storyboards on going in you. And if each one has an ending, if you don't like Persephone having to go to hell each year, would be a kid taking drugs once a year because he's depressed at Christmas. And you and I have 7 or 8 different storyboards going on. It's a way to get identification on what is going on inside you. And if you don't like that, that's where you change the movie. And you use ritual as a celebration of myth. And I got 12 volumes on that, on the holistic Kabbalah, dealing with the different planes.
Is that published yet, or is that out?
These are books I'm about to finish.
Oh, dude, I want that. Send that to me.
Yeah, I'll give you a book. I'll give you Pantheon that you can proof it for me, and I'll put your name in the book for proofing it.
Boom. I mean,
okay. Oh, okay. What I did for the images is Mahala, Marshall Rood, my webmaster and teaching assistant when I was at Harvard. She went out and 72 different artists on the boardwalk in San Antonio drew straws and then did business cards on the tarot. And so the major arcana, like the tower and all of that, will be business cards done by artists out of San Antonio as their interpretation of what the imaging would have been on their business card for the star or the lovers or the whatever they drew. The Three of Hearts. I've got them all. And they'll all be in the Pantheon, which is the magical and ritual use of metaphor, archetypal gods in daily living. I'm suggesting there are 22 stories in the big city when you work with archetypes in Greek mythology. There.
Cool.
That's my take on the tarot, just as giving you another edge.
So
on how to use the tarot, not for fortune telling, but identification of who you are and what you want to change inside yourself.
I like that. I like that.
That's what the tarot is supposed. And to do the ritual, you use the holistic Kabbalah, which is the different planes and ritual magic. And I'll send you some of those too, and you can proof those as well. They're all ready to go to press.
Awesome. I think it's time, man. Let's get these things out to the world because you got good work and you're very unique. The world needs more of you in their life. So this is cool, man.
That's what I'm trying to do is just leave some footprints so that you can pick it up, write your own book.
I love it, man. I love it. This is a great conversation. Thank you.
My pleasure.
And talk soon. Thank you, everybody, for being here with me. I'm going to
anytime you want, you let me know, and we'll pick something to talk about magic next if you'd like.
Let's do it. Let's do it at the end of next month. That'd be wonderful.
Okay, done deal.
And
we'll folks, talk about ritual and how you do ritual and why, and what's important in ritual and what's just fluff.
Even better. Okay, and folks that are watching this, as soon as you get done listening to this, go to Richard Allen Miller. Allen's with 1 L, Miller's with 2. RichardAllenMiller.com, and then pick 4 or 5 books to order.
What I've tried to do, is I group some books and give you a discount because going into Canada or Europe, a single book is going to cost more than the book, the postage. But when you group 5 of them, they go for the same rate. And that's why I did it like that. Only reason, trying to make it cheaper. I'm trying to not so much get money as I am trying to make access to my material. And that's why there's also ebooks.
Yeah.
And the brain drivers is how you change your belief systems like you would a pair of clothing predicated on the weather. And I'm going to upload today, after I finish this, several different ones on courses I took from Scientology and other groups on how you use a brain driver to change your belief system like you would a pair of clothing.
Cool.
Who's more important, your mother or your daughter?
So you've asked me this before, and you said your wife or your mom, actually. You never said
but it doesn't matter. There's a way of determining whom you go to first, and maybe you want to change that. How do you do that? That's what a brain driver is for. It's called the Gateway Project that I worked out with Robert Monroe.
You worked on the Gateway Project with Robert Monroe?
Yeah, that's what I said.
How are you not like, you are a freaking legend, dude. Like a lot of these names you're throwing out.
I worked with him at Berkeley before I moved to South Carolina, somewhere back east. But the Gateway Project originally is frequency following function, where you put.
Yeah.
And by the way, your audience has bought more brain drivers than any other interviewer, including John B. You put 40 high cycle in here, and you put 48 in here, and your brain goes driven right down to 8 cycle, and then you can reprogram it.
Nice. I'm going to do some reprogramming tonight. You will not assimilate me. Good
luck with that. Yeah.
Right on.
Good luck with that one.
Yeah.
AI has already happened. That's the bad news. And with that, probably Homo sapien is now going to become extinct, except for the 144,000. All aboard? That's
Sign me
Saturday.
up.
My get out of jail card.
I need one.
Well, I can tell you that Homo neanderthalis was a more evolved species than Homo sapien. It had 3 rings in the DNA. Where is it?
It's like vanished.
How does that work?
Yeah, I don't know. It's genetically altered.
See, something else is going on here. I think we're being cultivated like a petunia.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That's so exciting. A petunia. Hey, something to look forward to.
There you go. Now you're getting the big picture. Yeah.
Right on. All right, Rick. Well, brother, have a beautiful day and keep being the change the world needs to see. We'll talk
And
soon.
you too. And we'll go back and do something on magic, the real deal. I was offered Cavitate to OTO, and when Grady McMurtry died, I turned it down because I didn't want to run a magical order. It was mostly a bunch of young kids trying to rationalize their use of drugs. Drugs are tools. They're not for escape and recreation. And that was something I learned in 1979. I already done a tour with cocaine and swinging, and now I know what I don't want to do. It's personal growth.
Yeah, absolutely.
Discovering oneself, what's important to you. And it's different for each of us. And none of you are wrong.
Boom.
Make a lot of mistakes. Now I know what I don't want to do.
Definitely.
Yeah, exactly. Nice talking with you.
You too.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. Yeah.
Oh, I really do too, man.
Hey, jump on over to our Patreon because this interview is almost 2 hours and it's uncensored, unedited, and I have a bunch of interviews with Dr. Richard Allen Miller on our Patreon, as well as hundreds of exclusive interviews, uncensored and ad-free. So be the change you want to see, everybody. Thank you.